Hey, this is Jose Galison of No Way Jose. You can find me on the No Way Jose YouTube channel. You can also find me on just about anywhere podcasts are at. Like I've said on the previous episodes, I'm not doing the Liberty Movement YouTube or BitChute anymore. I'm still putting off. I've got a lot of shit going on in my life. I haven't gone around to like making a video and explaining what's going on there because I would like to get somebody to maybe be interested in running it, because I mean, it's got like a couple hundred subs. So, I mean, no reason letting it go. I just don't have the time to run it anymore. But, I mean, look out for, hopefully I'll have some time here soon. I'll do a video there and go into the more details. And, if your people who would be interested in it can look into it. Today, my guest is Dag from Agorist Nexus. The topic we're going to be, we're kind of going to go over a bunch of topics, but mostly I kind of want to bring him on, talk about Agorist Nexus. We also kind of met over, well, not this weekend, but I think last, so at the Socialism versus Capitalism debate with Gene Epstein here in Florida. Anyways, as always, give me money because I like that. So give me patreon.com. So it's No Way Jose 2020. You can also give me crypto at endthefed.app, where I'm also No Way Jose 2020. With that, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Dag. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man?
Hey.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, me too. Hey, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Give a quick intro to the audience for those who don't know you.
Sure, I'm a Dag or Dagorist on social media, the Twitter and whatnot. But I do a bunch of stuff over at Agorist Nexus. I co-host a podcast. If I was a little better, I'd write more articles. But that's about it. Otherwise, I'm a homesteader and just try to be a good all around Agorist.
Yeah, I gotcha. So, like I said earlier, we met at I forget when the fuck it was, but we met at the Gene Epstein thing. It was at the after party that we kind of met at. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because I mean that was my first Liberty event I've done, so I thought that was really cool. I don't know if I'm assuming you've probably done more since you've been in this space a little bit longer than I have.
Dude, like it's probably been about a year now. We started. And it was actually my wife met some people online and. They live sort of close to us, and we go over there like, oh, come out in our boat. We got in this pontoon boat, and like, dude, like Larkin Rose answers the door, and I'm like, what the fuck, and we've gone out with them a couple times and met a bunch of people, and it's just like, man, it just came so quickly to getting like addicted to hanging out with Liberty people, and it's, it's not even like you have to talk about like anarchy or whatever. It's just there's just something about hanging out with people who don't want you locked in a cage that feels so amazing. And you kind of cut through all the original bullshit. We know we're all on the same page. We can just have conversations, But yeah, man, Liberty events are great. It's been about a year. I've been going to several of them, and that one that we met at a couple weeks ago was just, oh man, I mean, it was just fantastic. I mean, there were so many cool people there, and I've been wanting to go to a Soho debate anyhow. So the fact we had one down here was, perfect. So good thing New York shut down.
Yeah, that was a godsend for me because it was like I'm very much a homebody. I don't go do things. I'm a very busy guy. I got wife, kids, 2 jobs, essentially bunch of shit, podcasts. Mm-hmm. I don't really have time to go like up to fucking New York or wherever because all the events are all over the place. But, we're in Florida, this is one of the few places that kind of got their shit together a little bit this year in a sense. I mean, it still went down, but it like compared to everywhere else, it's not so bad. But,
for sure. I don't like to say like, oh, like I'm happy to live in whatever state because of whatever government they have. But it's like this year, I'm kind of like, I'm kind of glad I'm in Florida.
Yeah, I feel kind of like a dick when I prescribe, prescriptions for the future to a lot of people. Like, hey, like, what I think they should do and get to the rural areas and get to the red states when it's like. But I kind of was already there. It's not like I was there to be like any sort of like, wasn't any philosophical reasons I was here. I just was like, I like the country and I just so happen to be in Florida. So it's like, but now it's like, yeah, that's the right thing. But I kind of just am there. So,
I get that too, man. Or I'll be like, like I didn't really have to do anything. So it's like asking a lot of like people, hey, upend your whole life and, move somewhere else where it's like, I didn't really have to do that, but I have been actively getting more out of the country. Like I lived in Tampa for years. And now whenever I drive back through it, I'm like, how did I live here? Like traffic and just, I don't know, man. It's crazy. I like my little corner of the county that I live in.
Yeah, I still work in Tampa, but I live out a good 45 minutes out and live out in the country. But Tampa's not too bad. I mean, I don't work in like a heavily, but I mean, there's still like, it would be nice to just be in the country. But anyways, yeah, I definitely thought it was fucking awesome. I have a Liberty event that we went to because it was like, yeah, I know you're like, we don't have to talk Liberty stuff. And I almost felt like it was kind of weird to at first, but then it almost just naturally started happening. But it's something nice about it because like, I don't get to have these kind of conversations other than like on social media or like on what we're doing now. But when you're doing it in person, it's like when I have these conversations sometimes in real life, like with like people I know, like, you know, friends or whatever. But it's like no one's at my level. I mean, not to say I'm like above them or anything, but like they're at B and C and I'm at like W, X, Y, Z, you know? So it's like, but I can, when I have my Liberty event, I have these people I don't have to be like, okay, well, like, I don't have to like work through all this shit to get to like the deep theory that I like to talk about, you know? Like I'm having to be like, you know, we're having to talk like basic shit, like, I don't know, like minarchism versus anarchism or shit like that, where it's just nice to have these people that like, I already assume they're at these certain points, and I like, because like with normies, I'll say some shit, and they'll just be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Whereas I don't have that at events like these, and it's just something nice about that, you know. And then I also don't have to like, yeah. And if I say something retarded, like if I say something retarded here, I'm gonna feel a little bit embarrassed about it because I'm putting it out. But if I say something retarded at a bar with some other Liberty people, are like, okay, well that idea didn't work.
Yeah,
you know. So
yeah, you know, it was a cool event, and like, you know, like, I mean, not like I went there expecting to have my mind changed, you know, and become a democratic socialist or anything. But you know, it was great just being able to go for the Liberty event. It was actually our friend Anthony was in town and invited us, so you know, we got to roll in there with him and everything, and he knows Gene, so we got to like, you know, say hi to Gene and meet him and everything. So you know, that was super cool.
Yeah, no, dude, it was fucking dope. Like I didn't I had a brain fart there, but like I didn't end up getting to meet Tom Woods or Gene Epstein, which were like probably two big ones that I like want to. But at the same time, I got to meet like other people and plenty of other people. I mean, I probably could have. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you see what happened to poor Tom?
No.
So he dipped out a little early, so he wouldn't get mobbed.
Yeah, I saw that.
My wife was coming back from the bathroom when he left and said that like 7 people like mobbed him, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go," and they're like all trying to, you know, I don't know what, talk to him about what, just some autistic thing that they heard him, you know, that they got upset about, they heard him say, or if they, I don't know, but I was like, oh man, poor guy, you know, just get a little too famous, can't even go and enjoy a debate.
Yeah, no, I that's kind of like. That's why I didn't really end up talking to Gene, because Gene was there, and I felt like I could have forced myself. And I actually kind of sort of did with Anthony, but like I felt like I kind of did a little bit more natural, but sort of not, because I'd already kind of met you, and then you guys are by him, and I just kind of forced myself on you guys to talk to you, and just so happened Anthony there. But I also did want to talk to Anthony just to be like hello.
Oh, Anthony's like, awesome.
Yeah,
super
he's
cool guy,
super sweet guy. But I did feel like it's like this, like I don't want to impose because I know. But yeah, that was kind of why I didn't with Gene. And if Tom had been there, I probably, even if Tom had showed up to the event, I probably never would have talked to him the entire night because everybody would swarm him. That's just not my style to be that person who's like, well, it is someone I very much respect. I also wouldn't be like force myself upon them like that. So
give him a nod from a distance. Yeah. Hey man, you know, let him know you appreciate his stuff. It's all it takes.
Which is what I kind of sort of did with Gene, because I think we were outside hanging out with like the smokers at one point. I think Gene came out and like, I don't know if I think I made some side comment. Yeah. Huh?
To escape everyone. He came out for a little bit of time because everyone wants to talk to him. But, you know, I mean, I don't have that kind of energy. I mean, I don't know, I'm going to be rude. I think he's like 80 or something, you know, and it's like, dude, like I'm sure it was a full day. He did a debate, you know, and then he's going out afterwards. Like I'd be exhausted at, you know, my age and fitness level. So, I mean, props to him, man. He's a dynamo for sure.
Oh yeah. And I can completely get that feeling already of like, because he even said, I think I did have like a quick little exchange with him. He said something along the lines of like, oh, I just need to come out and get air. And I completely got what he's getting at. Because it's like, I mean, it's just even just being in the bar. I mean, I'm turning 30 in like a month, but like I already, like I have 2 kids, a wife, a house, you know, all sorts of stuff. So I already have that, like I feel kind of old in this sense. So it's like I get that feeling of like when they're around a lot of people being like, I just need to get the fuck away from this. And so like I can only take a little bits. That's kind of why I went outside multiple times, and you guys just happen to be out there. But
it was packed in there, man. It was hopping for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, it was. I don't know. It was a fucking blast. There's a lot of fucking cool people. I met Jack Lloyd, the voluntarist comic guy. I mean, you saw him. You probably. I think you met him before, though, haven't you?
You know, I actually didn't meet Jack. I talked with Foe. You know, they actually did a rap song for us for the Nexus. Here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it was like when I saw she was there, oh nice. So I got to go meet her and you know, thank her for doing that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta kind of talk to Foe a little bit. That was another one I didn't want to like push myself on because I know she's like pretty prolific online, but it was just
she was a trip, man. She was very friendly. You know, you meet a lot of people like, you know, Liberty celebritarians or whatever, and they're not as friendly as you'd like them to be. And I mean, I get it. I'm sure they get a lot of attention and, you know, they might be over it or whatever. But she was super cool, man. Yeah. Yeah, that was a blast. That was pleasant.
Yeah, no, I know it was a blast. But anyways, let's transition. I kind of want to like do like a little talk about, just in general the debate, like your thoughts on it. I mean, I
Sure.
kind of have my own thoughts. I don't know if are you a socialist now or?
I mean, he sort of had me on the ropes there for a minute, but no, I think once the high wore off of just seeing such a magnificent specimen up there debating, I think I came back down to reality. It's not rude to say that he looks like a socialist, is it?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I've already said it multiple times. I think I said it on a lot of people know I'm kind of do like a Tower Power Hour podcast sometimes. And it's a little bit more, it's more like a libertarian Legion of Skanks, if you will. So
nice.
So I kind of talk mad shit already about fucking, what's his face? I can't remember his name. Burgess.
Burgess? Okay.
Yeah. Cause I don't know why. I mean, the biggest thing that irritated me right off the bat is I saw him come in like slacks and a t-shirt, like a shitty t-shirt, which whatever, cool. But I assumed he was going to put on something nicer for the debate, which I mean, I feel like I'm being really judgy right now, but it's just a weird fucking move
Hey,
to be
Michael
like,
Moore
if you're
gets away
this,
with it.
yeah, I mean, but it's just a weird move if you're the speaker for the event to be like, just look like shit. It wasn't even like, it'd be one thing if it was like a nice t-shirt or something. It was like literally just like some fucking t-shirt you got free at some event, like one of those, not even a nice one.
If it was like a Che shirt or something, at least I have a little more respect for him,
Yeah, if it had been like themed, like a Che or something, but no, it was just a shitty shirt. I think it was like a Abolish ICE, I think is what it was, but it was just like, it was just weird. I mean, not that really matters with the arguments at all. I feel like that's not putting your best foot forward. So just tips to anyone listening out there, don't fucking do that. I don't care what your philosophy is.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yes, the argument should present itself, but at the same time, you got to kind of dress up the argument, and that's not a good move for debate, in my opinion. I don't know. It's
Apple computer on his lap the whole time. Like, why do the socialists always have Apple products too? Like, it just I don't know. It's something, but no, it was. I mean, it was, and I think I heard Gene Epstein a couple years ago. He debated not Burgess, but another socialist or something. And I listened to that, and I think I listened to Burgess on some stuff. So, I mean, it's, stuff I've heard before. But, I mean, man, really to sum it up, I mean, the question, when they had the Q&A, and you got up and asked a question, you and I think the guy before you were like exactly the two things that I would have said to this dude if I was talking to him. And the first one was, what the other gentleman asked was, what constitutes means of production? And, he went through and listed one of the things was farms. And of course, I have a farm and I own a 3D printer. So am I considered, means of production, and he said farm. So then of course my question was how big of a farm and blah, blah, blah. And all the stuff that, in his mind, the democratic process will work out. But then yours, which was the best was like, basically, hey, I run a small business out of my house. My neighbor wants to come over and help me out. What are you going to do to me if I don't pay him minimum wage? It's a agreed upon thing. And of course, the thing about Burgess is he's like, why does everybody think that prison's going to be the answer to this? And it's sort of what he said with you. It's like, well, we'll do some stuff. We might, fine you or whatever. And then if you don't remedy it, well, then, yeah, I mean, maybe, I guess, jail, if you refuse our edicts. And it's just so frustrating because it's just like, I mean, it's like, I don't even want to like form an actual argument against it. It's like, my only argument is just fuck you, like, who the fuck are you, man? Like, you want to say like, okay, we got this democratic process that's, going to be this horribly efficient way to, come up with what's the best, what's the people want. But I mean, really, what is more democratic than us just making decisions for ourselves? Like that's, everybody, quote unquote, voting for what, they want. But of course, the issue is that that's not what he wants. He wants to impose his will on others just because he thinks the majority of people agree with him. But, of course, I don't need to tell you, it doesn't make him morally right. And, I don't think the majority of people actually agree with him. I think a lot of people who might even be socialist leaning or communist leaning or whatever, I think that most of them, if they really get out in the real world and do something like, try and like start a business and learn how trade actually works. I think a lot of people hopefully get over that. But, I mean, what am I saying though? Aren't like most billionaires Democrats? So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, like I brought that up for a couple reasons. Cause like, I feel like, for one, it was kind of like the root of the issue. Like that was the thing that was bugging me the most is he kind of did this bait and switch with Gene where Gene was like pressing on him on like, you're going to like cause these issues with like wages and like, you're going to basically criminalize like having a wage or whatever, or wage or salary. And he's like, So what are we going to do to these people? And like, we're going to be like arresting them or whatever. And like, I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but essentially what he was implying was that like, hey, you are using the threat of force against these people for this. But then what Burgess did, whether it was intentional or not, I don't know. I'm not going to attribute motive, but whether he meant it or not, he did a bait and switch, like, because I mean, obviously what Gene was getting at was that this is ultimately backed up by force. But then what Burgess did was he goes, whoa, we're not just gonna have mass fucking jailings or arrests all over the place. Like, there are other ways to deal with this. There's fines, there's this, there's that, there's this, blah 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 blah. But it's like, that's not the point. Like, Gene's not making the point that we're gonna lock up a mass of the populace. The point is you're doing something that is ultimately backed up by force. So like, that is what's, it's basically violence. It's under threat of violence is what you're doing. And like, I mean, which I kind of wish, that was one thing. I wish Gene had kind of got a little bit more to the principles or the root of the matter, a lot of the stuff. And that's kind of why I pushed him on that. Cause like, I mean, you were there,
let
but
that go too much, that the whole, every time Burgess, I don't know why you keep thinking it's going to be mass prison. I mean, he said it half a dozen times, and I feel like that just would have been easy. I mean, it just would have taken 10 seconds to say, well, I mean, obviously, force, it starts as a fine, blah, blah, blah. But I don't even know if he mentioned that. I don't even know if he mentioned that, maybe he has a reason. Maybe, maybe he's trying to stay, really true to the topic. I don't know, but I feel like that was a low hanging fruit he could have taken.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think Gene, if I'm correct, I mean, I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure he's a minarchist, so maybe that makes a difference, because it's like, I guess, in a sense, if you are a minarchist, then it's kind of like your principles at its root, you kind of are like, there are certain things I'm willing to have the government use force for. So it's like, but it's now you kind of get into the muck of like debating which is which. Whereas like somebody like me or you, which I'm assuming you're an agorist, or not agorist, but an anarchist, because you're an agorist, like it is kind of just easy to be like, well, I don't think the government should use force, period. So
yeah, I don't think it should exist, or it should be voluntary, or any number of ways you want to put it. Yeah, for sure. And like that just illustrates, though, like really like the problem with minarchy, like even just being like a minarchist, is that what you should have is a great argument there. Like you said, he just can't use, because that implies that if you're a minarchist, you're also violent. Maybe just in a different way. So, and I'm not saying anything negative about Gene, obviously. But
no, and I'm pretty sure. God, what did he say? And that was one thing he did say, like one thing, because like I asked that question because I have a small business or whatever, and I was like, what if I have somebody do it? And then he's like, I asked the question, like, what are you going to do to me? And he's like, well, there's any number of things you can do. He gave the whole spiel when he knew what I was getting at. Like, he knew what I was getting at. And then he just kind of like, then he ended there. And then instead of letting him just get away with that, and I go, well, what if I decide not to pay that fine? Because like the whole point is I was trying to get to that next step. And then that's kind of like, he tried to give a little spiel for a minute, and then he stopped, and he's kind of like, well, obviously, like, and I think he gave the whole, like, if we're going to have a society, a place with laws, we're going to have to, and like, I was very tempted to just be like, well, I don't agree with that. So, but like, I was like, no, I'd already like kind of doubled up. Like, I probably shouldn't have. I essentially asked 2 questions. So I was like, I'm already, but the whole idea, I had already intended on like kind of continuing to press him. I even thought about maybe going further. Yeah, because that was what I was driving at. I was trying to get him to be like, and he kind of like, I could tell he was giving a spiel, and he kind of goes, I could tell like, well, yes, we would have to, like, he was trying to dance around it. Like, I could just tell by his like tone. And I was really tempted to like go a step further and be like, what if I decide I don't want to get kidnapped by the state? But I was like, no, just stop there. Everyone gets it.
Yeah. I mean, I think he had 6% of the vote. Like, I mean, I don't know who. I mean, obviously there was a couple, but I mean, yeah, it's like, we definitely have the majority of people who, thought at least pretty close to us, in that crowd.
Yeah. No, it's funny, because I kind of like think of it in a sense, like, reason why I stopped. Like, do you ever see that? I don't know if you're a part of the Prom Fam, but do you ever see that like clip with Dave where he was like on like Kennedy or something, and they were arguing about something about the police, like with something on the news, and she said something along the lines of like, like, she goes, well, they're just doing their job or some shit, and he goes, oh, they're just doing their job. That's not a very good argument. She goes, yes, it is. And instead of him being like, ha ha ha, Nuremberg defense, he just kind of like just stopped and had a smug look on his face and just kind of smiled and didn't say a word. So it was kind of like one of those where like sometimes silence is the best thing. Because I do think there is tactically, you got to realize when it comes to like debates and stuff, like what you're trying to do. Like with my question right there, I mean, it wasn't that I was trying to get Burgess to convert to socialism. It was more that I was trying to make it transparent for anyone in the crowd or listening later of like what's going on here, you know? So
yeah, and I mean, you gotta, hold him to the fire, you know, if he's gonna come out and I mean, I'll give him credit, dude. I mean, he was kind of walking into the lines then with that one, even when it was over, you know. I gave him a nod and was like, thanks.
Yeah, no,
not doing that. I mean, that I wouldn't want to do it in his position.
Yeah, for real. Which, I mean, on another note, like, yes, I kind of give him credit, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, if you knew you were coming to the lines, then I feel like he should have came with more. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because maybe I'm overestimating like his abilities or his cognizance of our arguments, but like, I know for me, I have everything he said I've heard before, and nothing impressed me. Like it wasn't, and I've heard other socialists make better arguments. Like I just have.
Yeah, and I doubt that he really thought that he would manage to change any minds, which makes me wonder, why he came. I mean, maybe just something to do. Oh, he's selling a book. That's right. So yeah, he's probably trying to do all sorts of events. He just had a book come out, which I don't know. I didn't really have an intention on reading. I guess he mentioned Dave Smith. I guess he said it's a pretty good book or whatever. Apparently, some of the stuff he's talking about it is just that like, hey, like even like from the left, like this woke shit is bad. Like you're not helping the cause, which, if that's what it's about, it might be worth a read. I don't know. I really don't want to buy his book.
Yeah, I don't either. It just sounds like some generic, like, well, they're doing fucking SJW shit. Like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they are. Like, I mean, it's probably a great book to be out there for the left to read, but like, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like whatever. I mean, it'd be like I've said multiple times that not too long ago I tried to read Noam Chomsky's Manufactured Consent. Mm-hmm. And like that's one of those books everyone goes on about. But like the whole point of that book is how corrupt the media is. And I was reading it and I was kind of like, this is kind of boring. Like I know all this shit. Like this isn't blowing me away. Like no shit. Like media is corrupt. Cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I mean, not to shit on Noam Chomsky. I'm sure that like for someone who's not like already red pilled or whatever, probably reads that. It's like, holy fuck, like, but like me, it's just kind of like, yeah, okay.
I've heard some of his stuff is all right. I've never actually read it. I mean, just the fact that I think he's a communist. I'm like, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do try to read some stuff from like, opposing viewpoints or whatever, but I don't know. Like, I really don't want to dedicate like, a 500-page book to some nonsense. My time's a little precious.
Yeah. I did want to kind of touch, we got on a sidetrack. I did want to touch on another reason why I brought up that question is because just real quick aside, I do think it is useful to use like an example like mine where I have a small business. And it was literally like, because I breed cats, and the biggest thing with my business is that like the most I have to do every day is I have to fucking like, I will spend 1 to 3 hours, depending on what I'm doing, cleaning it up, like, taking care of it. So it's just cleaning work. It's all it is, making sure they have a nice, clean environment. And so it's as simple as being like, hey, there's someone else who wants to do it. I do not have the kind of income to be able to support someone making it, like giving them a shitload of money. Also, even then, but in a socialist framework, that would just be wrong to do in the first place by their perspective. But it's like, I'm the one who invested the capital initially. I'm the one who's put in the time. I've gotten to the point where now I can kind of afford to someone, but like, why the fuck would it be like, hey, Tom down the street is like, and it isn't even like I'm like exploiting them, like, especially like where I live in like a middle to like sort of upper middle class area. Like, it's actually not that unreasonable of a concept that someone would do that, because it's like there are plenty of people who might have some extra time on their hands. Are like, hey, what's a couple hours? What are you gonna give me? 20, 30, 40 bucks? Okay, cool. Like, not a big deal. I'll come clean it up. Like that's nothing, like I could see someone doing that if they had some extra time on their hands. So it's not that crazy, but most people have this idea of like the big businessman exploiting the fucking, the peons, but it's like, that's not all it is,
Yeah, it's nice to bring up individual specific examples because you're showing like, hey, we're not all just robber barons, and Burgess kept using things, oh, the average CEO or the average CEO. And it's like, first off, I'm sure there's something wrong with that stat, but it's like, the average, whatever, Fortune 500 company CEO isn't like the average business owner. It's not the average, person. It's not even the average rich person for, what a lot of us would call rich, like that's like, so beyond that. So to say like, oh, there's an issue with them, so all of us small business owners need to be, held under the thumb of government even more is just ridiculous. And I kind of like using examples like that as well, because, like when I have like family members or talk trash about like, oh, business owners or whatever, it's like, I own a business. Oh yeah, but you're different, and it's like, well, why? And so I was like, really, you gotta be careful when you say things like that, because, you're talking about a lot of people, just in general. And, to your point about like, like the situation like you're describing is a really great point for this for another reason, because it's not like you need a full-time employee. You know, what you need is somebody who lives 3 doors down from you, who she stays home because her husband works and whatever. She gets a little bored, so she wants to come over for 2 or 3 hours a day, make a couple bucks. She does, you know, it's not like she's trying to, you know, keep the baby in diapers with this job or anything, but it breaks up her day, gets some cash for her, frees up your time, helps your business, etc. So it's just a really awesome situation, to be honest, if you know, for everybody involved. So the fact that he wants to send men with guns in to say, no, we can't do this, is just, I mean, it's just, oh, like, it's just so retarded. I have such a hard time finding words for it. You know, it's just like, why, dude? Why do you got to be like that? Quit being a dick. Leave us alone. And, you know, to the point you were alluding to, if you want to help the little guy, you know, stop fucking him over.
Yeah, because I mean, there would be just helping out someone else. It's like, hey, just need a few bucks, like whatever. I have some extra money to give. Like, do you want it? Do you not? Okay, you know, whatever. But
everybody wins. It's voluntary.
Yeah. Anyways, we kind of already focused on his performance, the socialist. I mean, he didn't dazzle us. What did you think about Gene's performance?
I mean, Gene did good. I mean,
you can be honest. He's not going to watch this. I'm not that big of a deal.
No. Gene is sometimes, okay, I'll say this, and now we're being this honest. You know, even with some of the last debates I've seen with him, everything. I mean, Gene's great, you know, and he's so much more together than like I am. Like when I was in like high school, like I was really into, like, I wished we had a debate club and stuff. I was really into that kind of stuff. I was like, give me either side of an argument, I'll argue it, you know. But like, I don't know, man. These days, dude, I don't know, man. It's I don't have the patience or anything, but for him to come out and be able to do that is great. So anyhow, he does all that way better than I could. But I mean, he's getting up there, dude. You know. But I mean, I wouldn't want to debate him on anything. You know, that's for sure. And he definitely knows the shit. You know, being an economist and everything. I've listened to him on like a lot of podcasts, just talking about his life or whatever. And I'm sorry, I know this isn't exactly the question you asked, but man, he's just really incredible. And just like everything, like his mom was a communist, and like he eventually went down and like got the FBI file they had on her and was like reading it, you know, and like they've been, you know, like tailing his mom for years just because she was a communist. Like just crazy, man, just really nuts. And of course, he used to be a socialist as well, so that's why, you know, when he does these debates, I think it is a little more, I don't know, powerful is the right word, but it's like he has a little more cred, you know, like he's, you know, you can't say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about for him, because he does for sure. So, but it was fine. I mean, it's, you know, it's a debate though that obviously you and I, even without seeing this one, we know back and forth. I mean, we know capitalism's, you know, preferable to socialism and whatever the long-winded thing was, prosperity, etc. So, you know, I didn't learn anything, but it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to preface, I do have criticisms before I go into it. I do want to preface, I feel like I'm a good internet debater, but like, I feel like I've never done like a in-person other than like just, you know, just with people I know, but even then it's not a formal debate, it's just with normies, which that's pretty easy to own a normie. But like, I've never done like a debate like that. So I don't get me wrong, he's way better than me. Like, I'm just providing, I'm backseat driving, and it's easy to do that after the fact. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much easier to like later make criticisms, but it's like, if I was there, I'd probably like have way more criticisms of me. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not saying anything. I do think I did get a little frustrated with how much you would attribute motive to Ben. I don't know if they caught you.
No, yeah, you're right. And he even ended at one point apologized. Ben was like, hey man, I didn't say that. And he was like, you're right. I apologize 1,000 times, you know?
Yeah.
But you're right. He did do that a little bit. Yeah. That's not helpful. It wasn't necessary.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm all for it in certain contexts. Like, for example, I have no problem. Like, it's very common on Twitter if you're like arguing with some like neocon or some shit to do shit like that, just to be completely disingenuous. But you don't know what I'm doing on purpose, because it's almost like I don't really respect you. But if it's in a context of like a debate, I feel like it's best to maintain a good faith argument to where you're assuming the best possible interpretation of like their thoughts or whatever. So, because I feel like it kind of got a little bit animated near the end, and honestly I feel like part of that was kind of Gene's fault, because he set that tone of attributing motive, which he may not have meant to, but then what happens is then Ben becomes defensive in return, and then just kind of becomes this back and forth thing that builds up, and it was kind of like, in a sense, he initiated it and verbally. I'm not saying he like broke the nap or some dumb shit,
right?
But like yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's kind of like that's what happens when you interact with people in bad faith. It gets them riled up. Like, I mean, which sure, if you're going to pull a rope-a-dope, if you're doing that on purpose, but I don't feel like that was the intention, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. It does kind of make the whole thing kind of deteriorate there to not quite like name calling, but yeah, it just gets to where we're kind of missing the points, and there's plenty of points to be made on that topic, obviously.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessary at all because it was like you said, you completely could debate him on the merits of it. I mean, the only other criticism I had, it was kind of like I almost didn't see the point of the debate because it was, I think this is like his third or fourth one, and I assumed he was probably going to come from a different angle because I know every other debate he kind of argued from a different angle, but I'm pretty sure this is basically a repeat of the I forget the dude's name, but it was some like Indian name, like Basco Sinkar or some shit like that.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but it was literally, he basically made the same exact argument there, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good argument. The argument that basically the major premise that Gene made was that, like, hey, your socialist ideas are perfectly, like, you can do them in a capitalist society. There's nothing stopping you. But it's like, but vice versa, it's not true. So, like, that was basically the main premise, which I mean, it's a good premise, but, like, it's like, we've already heard this. I assumed he was going to go some other way. I mean, that's not really a complaint necessarily so much as, like, I guess I was expecting a different angle. I don't know.
One thing that gets me, and this one I've heard him on other ones too, and this isn't necessarily a Gene thing, so I don't hear many other people make these arguments when they talk about like the employee-owned businesses that do exist, like they bring up the one in Spain and such, but it's like there's actually a lot more like employee-owned businesses, and there's different levels too. Like there's companies that only employees can buy stocks, so they call it employee-owned and things like that. But so there could have been more examples. Hey, this does happen here or there, but that's really the frustrating thing about this and it's just the point he's making to Burgess or Biscaria or however you say their guy's name, like you can do it, dude. Nothing's stopping you, So if your ideas work, then just do it. I mean, do some grassroots shit. Just convince some people, or better yet, like I always tell socialists when they bitch and complain about some sort of business model, start one yourself. Do it yourself instead of asking the government to do something or fix this or that. Just fucking do it. You see a charity or a business or something, but of course that's the challenge. Is whatever your good intentions are, you have to find a way to fund it. And that's the thing about like an actual, free market. You have to be productive or get people to voluntarily give their money, and I don't know, maybe they're just too frustrated or I don't know. I mean, when I was younger, I wasn't like a socialist or anything, but like I probably could have turned out that way if I had found, anarchy. I mean, there's definitely a time where I was like, oh yeah, universal healthcare and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I had reasons and it made sense to me at the time, but I don't know, man. Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about, I want to hear about Agorist Nexus, because you guys kind of have this website, has a bunch of shit on it. So I don't know if you want to tell me about it, what's on there and shit, because it seems like a pretty good resource for people to use.
Yeah, it's super cool. So there's a few things. One, it's a business directory for, liberty-minded businesses, prefer, Agorist leaning, but, anything that's, at least halfway there is pretty good. But it's free to list a business. So if anybody has any businesses or products they sell or, anything, feel free to list it on there. If you have any issues with anything, just send me a message, contact me. I'll handle it for you. But yeah, man, go ahead and get set up on there and get some traffic. So that's nice. Basically, it's a Nexus for Agorist. So, Nexus means to come together. So it's a place where, we can come together and hopefully trade and share and do all that. And then, we also do a lot of content as well. First and foremost, some really phenomenal articles come out of there. We have some really amazing writers. We've got several. I'm going to miss some. I'm so sorry to everybody in advance, but off the top of my head, we've got to see Shane Radliff, Wendy McElroy, really amazing. Graham Smith, Jeremiah Harding, Lily Forrester, even Sal Mayweather writes some stuff for us. So we definitely have a bunch of really cool people over there. And then we do a podcast as well. So I'm the co-host of the podcast along with Brandon, and Brandon's the big cheese around there. This is kind of his baby for sure. So he works really hard on making all this happen. It's really cool, man. It's a really cool project. I've been involved with them for about a year now. I had listed my business on there a couple years ago. I'd heard about them on the Tom Woods show, and I pulled over my car so I could write down the name of the website, and they were talking about, the directory and everything. I'm like, this is great. This is so cool. And yeah, about a year ago, Brandon asked me to join him on the podcast, and, I've been doing work with him since. I've written a couple articles, but I don't know. I'm not the best writer. I want to be better. I want to write more articles, but yeah, mostly I help out a little bit with the podcast, and a little bit of this and that, whatever I can do to help out. We have some other big stuff coming up, some stuff that's kind of top secret I can't talk about, but hopefully we'll get some new projects coming out. Hopefully next month, we are going to be doing more like book publishing. We're going to be publishing Wendy McElroy's new book. And then we sell some books and stuff on there as well, with Lily Forrester's book, which is really awesome. I recommend everybody go check that out. But yeah, man, it's a super cool project. We can, if anybody wants to check it out, please do. Hit some affiliate links. That helps us out. If you want to donate, you can. But really, just anything's great. If nothing else, we're just happy to spread the message.
No, yeah, I feel you. I mean, I feel you, especially on the wanting to write more. Like I dabbled in writing for a minute, but it's like you can only stretch yourself so thin. I can hear as much shit as you're doing already. It's like, I mean, I already got to the point where like I at the beginning, I was kind of talking about how I had the other channel that I was doing, the Liberty Movement, which I'm still interested in the concept. It's just like, I just don't have the fucking time. I'm just one dude. So it's like, yeah, it is like you can only do so much. I mean, that is an important thing for people to realize, not to bite off more than they can chew. But at the same time,
man. And so I've been like an avid podcast listener for like a few years, or Liberty Pods, and I think everybody who's a real avid like podcast listener kind of dreams of like doing their own podcast, And I'd sort of looked into it and stuff, and it was just like, man, like it's a lot more work than like you think like originally. And obviously, I don't have to tell you, it's a lot that goes into that stuff. It really does. And yeah, it definitely takes some time. I like writing. I'm not a bad writer. I just like, I'll just stare at a blank page for 2 hours, and then I just start typing, and I'll just go for like 2 hours. Before I know it, I've got like 700 words, and but it's not really going anywhere, and I'm like, all right, how am I going to wrangle this in and make this some, more than just a collection of my thoughts, something that somebody might actually want to read, and that's usually my challenge. So I like to do like instructional stuff because I don't think I'm a bad teacher. I like teaching. So I kind of stick to instructional stuff. I did like a how-to on how to get started in crypto, how to set up a wallet, stuff like that. Some basics on exchanges, how to use them. I did some 3D printing stuff as well. And I'm probably going to try and keep coming out with some more stuff like that. I should probably do more homesteading stuff. That's pretty big for Agorist to grow their own food and everything. So I should probably put out some stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. There's something about writing. Like I've only done a handful of like writing things, but it's weird. Like once you start doing it, then you're like, oh shit, this is like, no, something about it. You get in like a flow state of like where you're just going. But then it's like, it's weird too. Like after I produce things, I always like them weirdly. It is like, I get where how artists are sometimes, where I feel like I'm tied to it. Where like if someone criticized it, like don't get me wrong, I guess in a sense I want criticism, but it almost hurts a little bit. Like I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Like it's just weird because it never made sense to me until I did write a couple, and I just like I'm weirdly like I don't know. I felt like I was a good writer, and I still do think, but I don't know. It's a whole thing. I don't know if you agree. I mean, not to go off another tangent, but
no, you put so much of yourself into it though, dude. And the thing about anything you create, whether it be writing or I mean, I've just jobs I've had where it's it's meticulous work or something. It's just like every little thing in it. So anything that you don't think is 100% perfect just bugs you. In reality, most people don't notice. But so that's always something is I get a little self-conscious, and then like you said, if somebody. Like obviously I'm doing this because I want to have discussions with people, but yeah, if somebody does say anything other than like, oh, it's wonderful and I love it, it's almost like, oh, Not that I have thin skin, it's just, you put a lot into it.
Yeah, but all right, let's transition to you brought up how you have your business. Kind of wonder like how you do agorism essentially. I mean, obviously, like you don't have to go into your tax stuff because we know that works agorism. Everything following from here is that for legal reasons a joke or whatever. Just there's
all satire,
but it's all joke. But yeah, no, just kind of like roughly, what do you do? Like what kind of like shit are you doing? I mean, I brought up my cat business. I'm not gonna go in the tax stuff there. But fucking agorism, baby. It's done different ways.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I look back now that, I know what agorism is. It's like, well, maybe I've been doing agorism since I was like 14, but like, really, man, it was probably about 6 years ago that I really started, I was kind of an ANCAP and, kind of getting a little like bored with that. It's like, okay, now what? Okay, we're right. Now what? Right. And really agorism started coming into my purview, and I had the farm thing going, and it just really just started to click for me over time. And, I started reading some Konkin, and like, I just loved in Agorist primer where he has like a math formula to figure out if a crime is worth it, and I'm just like, oh man, it's so cool. But at any rate, I mean, it's like, I really didn't have to change much to do it. I mean, I have a small farm, so there's a lot that's Agorist about that. First off, you're selling food, so you don't even have to charge like sales tax on like uncooked food. So, it's just easy to not even just have to mess with any of that stuff. Just having a farm, having my land being agriculture is like a huge tax break on the property tax. It's also, and I don't do it just for that, for any county people listening. But that's a great side effect. So, you get a huge tax break.
We already
on the
provided a
property.
legal disclaimer. You're good.
Yeah. And then also like, I don't have to have permits to build anything on the farm. So like I can do sheds, I can build all sorts of stuff, and I don't have to have any permits for it. So that's really cool. I do recommend getting that if you do have a farm or anything. It varies a little bit state to state, but yes, I understand getting government permission isn't something we like, but it's more like did this thing once and now they leave me alone. So sometimes you kind of got to weigh it out. Yeah, I hate public roads, but what am I going to do, right? And then something else that I do is, and this is something that I might get some guff for, again, being an Agorist, but I have an LLC for the farm, which means I don't pay taxes, and that's not anything illegal. I can just write everything off. I end up making on paper, officially, $100 or $1,000 a year. I pay $33 in federal taxes every year, and I think that's about the best I could hope to do. And I'm not doing anything illegal. I don't have to worry about, going to a year in prison for it. So, that's some things that I do on the, the more, white collar side of it, but otherwise, man, just having a farmstead, there's so much possibility. You don't have to have a lot of space to do anything like this, but there's so much possibility for Agorist acts. You have a lot of opportunities for trade. So, you're ducking out of the, the Federal Reserve note system, which is great. You're helping feed people, which is awesome. And one of the things that I really like about it, and this is sort of the preppery side of me, is, just look at, 2020 with, shortages. And I think we're coming up to, I've heard it called the everything shortage. I really think we might be coming up to that. So when you just have extra supply on hand of important things like, food and water and, just survival stuff, if something big does happen, or if there's a natural disaster or just some sort of hiccup in our very finely tuned, infrastructure system that gets our products around, you and your neighbors are a little more taken care of. So that not only helps you guys, but everybody else who does rely on the grocery store, there might be a little more there for them. So, you sort of get, it's almost like a battery, you're reserving, resources and energy and stuff. And, it's a great feeling. A lot of it is really even just like mental, like it's reassuring, and I'm happy, really since I've gotten into agorism, I've been happier. It's, you sort of see the world a bit differently, and there's a lot less fear, even though on the face of it, you should be more scared when you realize there's nobody coming to save you and you're responsible for your own stuff, but it's freeing too. It really is. You realize how talented you can be. You realize how, we're just so dumbed down in the public school system that, once you realize that you don't have to be a professional and go to college to learn a new skill or task, and you can just do it, and you can be a badass, and it's just such a great feeling. So, but anyhow, however I got there, having the farm's great, and it allows me to, to help people and feed people. And I really like teaching people too. So any chance I get to help people learn how to produce food for themselves, provide for their family, is just an amazing win. It makes me feel amazing. And I mean, like, and not to sound like, high and mighty, but it's like, fuck, man, there's a real chance that could be like saving people's lives, so it's, it's just really amazing. And then, just like everything else, do what I can to not pay taxes when I can avoid it. Do what I can to, not use a fiat currency. That's really something I've been getting into. I'm a little late to the game on crypto. I've been preaching it since Bitcoin was $200. I've been telling people to get into it, not following my own advice and being a little nervous about it. But once I finally did in 2020, it's like, dude, after like you make a couple transactions and after a week, you're like a pro, But I've really been getting into that and trying to learn more. Some of the tech stuff for just like the future possibilities of crypto and blockchain is really amazing, but some of it's a little over my head. I got to admit, but I'm really looking forward to things like, like DeFi and stuff, like where we can just really get around the banks for these other systems. I don't know, man. We just really got to create some of these bigger systems for ourselves or make something usable for us. And I really think we can take some leaps forward with this.
Yeah, I feel it. I'm the same way. I still haven't gone to crypto. I've been saying for a while. I've been doing the same thing and telling it probably over a year, people to get into it. But I'm a fucking tech idiot, it was actually a hurdle for me to even get into this. But it's funny. It's like feel like it's one of those things that like once I just finally do it, it won't be so bad. I mean, that's how I am with like a lot. I'm one of those people who's very hesitant to change, but once I do it, I'm like, oh, okay. So like probably the same thing for me. I did really want to quickly touch on something you brought up earlier, which I feel like most agorists this isn't going to apply to, but like I feel like it's mostly usually like ANCAPs or people who don't understand agorism. We say this shit. Well, they like have this like idea of agorism of like it's like black and white, and you're just like, oh, so you don't pay any taxes or you don't do this. Oh, you're a shitty fucking agorist or a shitty anarchist or whatever. And it's like, no, it's about doing it to the furthest extent you possibly can, or like doing it like in a smart way. It's not this like ones or zeros, which I think is one of the beautiful things about agorism is I feel like a lot of libertarian thought and like ANCAP thought is like very subject to this like, you know, dimorphic thinking, this like binary thought. And it's just like, but I feel like something about agorism is very good in like there's a lot of this like gray area, you know, and it's like, for example, like a big thing of agorism is like the concept of like, you know, how, and this isn't even exclusive to agorism. It's just agorism puts a emphasis on it. The idea of like how, you know, like say something like a company like Apple, they get so many kickbacks from the government to where it's like, they're kind of in a sense, almost sort of the government themselves to some extent. I mean, they're not the government, but it's a gray area. So it's kind of like this fascism, you know, that we're entering into right now. We're not even entering, we're in, you know. So it's like a lot of people, you know, say with the vaccine passports, a lot of people be like, well, it's a private company, bro. Well, it's like, yeah, sort of. Not really.
Yeah, and pharmaceuticals and stuff. Yeah, they've been in bed for a long time. You know, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, how many kickbacks do you get from the government before you're like before you're no longer a private company? But I mean, it's not a 1 and 0. There's kind of a sliding scale. So it's like you can't just exist on this like binary thought structure. So and I think there's something about agorism that exists on that. And that's why I'm saying it. That is a common criticism I've gotten for agorism. And it just really shows how little thought or, you know, like they don't even understand the concept they're speaking on when they'll like criticize people for like, oh, well, you fucking still pay taxes. It's like, yeah, because I don't want to go to fucking jail. Yeah. Like, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, but I'm sure that and even people who are diehard statists do this exact same thing. They do everything they possibly can to pay the least amount of taxes that they have to. You know, like Bernie Sanders doesn't have write-offs. You know what I mean? So to say like there's we do the best we can sometimes, but you know, if you still want to be around to feed your family and all that, you know, going to prison ain't a good thing to do. And you know, like with what you're saying, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if this is actually a parallel or not, but you know, Agorist we really like markets, right? That's kind of our thing. And even like ANCAPs or whatever, you know, yeah, they're, you know, free market, etc. But there really is something with like markets is they're flexible, you know, they mold into, you know, when there's a niche, it fills it, you know, so it is a bit more like flexible. It's a little less rigid than like a lot of these other ideologies. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it's just because we understand that that's the way the universe works. And, you know, sometimes you gotta reshape to fill in a gap or something.
Yeah. Anyway, I kind of want to touch on, and I won't keep you too long because I know you got to get to bed. But I kind of want to touch on, and I think this does kind of tie into the whole agorism thing. What roughly, you did touch on a little bit, but I want to know roughly your thoughts on the future and how things could possibly go. And we'll tie this into something else here in a second, but I just kind of want to get a rough idea of how you think the future looks. Obviously, I'm not going to tie you to it and be like, haha, you know, 10 years from now. But
yeah, come back in a few years and tell me how wrong I was. Well, you know, like I mean, it can be hard to say. I've been relatively optimistic after this year, to be honest. Yeah, obviously a lot of terrible things have happened, but I honestly think that the government overplayed their hand a bit, and a lot of people are buying it hook, line, and sinker, but a lot of people aren't. And I think it's very well illustrated when like, okay, I think they did like some new CDC recommendations or guidance, and Biden was talking about today something, and he's like, oh, you're now allowed to gather outdoors if you've been vaccinated, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, like, where you been? We've been doing that for a year, you know, like, and some of it going back, like you're talking about, we live in Florida, you know, like, you know, it's easy, you know, but yeah, I mean, I just see so many people, especially in the country, they're just so over it. And I think that, you know, I'm talking to people who were very big statists, and yeah, they're not necessarily anarchists yet, but they're being much more suspicious of the government. You know, they're realizing something isn't up. So anyhow, I'm trying to be optimistic about it, and think that maybe we'll get some more people into our ranks. I'm trying to use all this as a learning opportunity when it comes up. You know, well, the whole bar is closed, at this particular restaurant, but you'll cram us into booths next to each other. That's a little weird, isn't it? And just, drop little things when you can. And I don't know, but I really think that that anyhow, even with like this vastly like encroaching state and technocratic police nonsense that we might be facing here in the future, ultimately I have a lot of faith in technology. And even if it is beyond my understanding, a lot of it, I really think that we wouldn't be able to have decentralized networks like we're capable of having and going to be capable of having in the future, before the internet. So I think we get a lot of power from that. I think that, just projects like crypto and stuff, and not even just cryptocurrency, like for money, but a lot of the utility coins I think are really cool. I'm thinking of like Library, Odyssey, their utility coin for how they run their thing. Pre-search tokens, another one, and there's a lot of them, other ones that are out there. Just tokenization, replacing the stock market with tokenization. It's more effective. You're cutting out all these middlemen. We're cutting the government out of it. There's I mentioned DeFi earlier, just ways where we can get rid of the big banks or at least have another option. That's all I want is just an option. But I just see a lot of potential in that. And a lot of it is stuff I can't even put my finger on because it's just beyond me, but there's just so much there and so much that we've just begun to scratch the surface of that I just don't know if government has the resources to contain it or do anything about it. They do to some extent, obviously, but I don't know. I just feel like, especially the United States government, they're a dying animal, man. I just can't see him keeping up this charade for much longer. I just hope that if things, if it does go away, that things fall in a better spot. A lot of people like, agorism, a lot of people, think that it's, not only just a way to bring freedom to yourself, but also a way to smash the state. And I believe both of those. I don't put 100% faith that like, it's going to be the thing that's responsible for smashing the state. If the state goes to the smash, then yes, probably. But even that aside, I think it's the best way for us to bring freedom to ourselves, to our family, to our neighbors, is to just fucking live our lives and, just be good, moral humans. That's, I really think that's what's important. And that's what agorism, it sounds like a religion when I talk about it like this, but that's what it provides me, and it's, I don't know, man, it's just great. I just hope that we can bring more people onto this. So many people already do so much, even statists, they commit agorisms all the time. They do what they can to not pay taxes, like we were talking about earlier, or just any number of things. How many of them roll through stop signs, so people have this potential. It's just, it's this indoctrination or whatever, I think that getting kids out of public school is a really great start. I know that everybody's means are differently and it's not a possibility for everybody. And I certainly respect that. I'm definitely not talking shit about anybody, but man, get your kids out of schools if you can do it. And especially after this year, you see, like, I shudder to think of what terrible things are happening to kids who have not seen expressions on, their caretakers' faces for a year. That has got to be, I don't know. I don't think we've ever experienced anything like that. It's just, there's got to be something really weird psychologically going on with this. And it's, it's terrifying, but anyhow, I think a lot of people are starting to see it and a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are getting even more entrenched. So I don't know, maybe a balkanization or something's going to happen. I don't know. Either way, no matter what happens, we were talking about this the other night too, with like the LP folks, no matter what happens, whether they succeed or they fail, Agorists are going to be here. We're going to keep making shit happen. We're going to keep the economy running. We're going to make sure people have food. We're going to make sure people have protection. We're going to make sure people have the things they need, because in the end, that's always who's done it, has been Agorist even before Agorism was a thing. It was pirates running blockades, hundreds of years ago to make sure people had goods that the government wasn't allowing them to have on tax. This stuff's gone on forever. And these are the people who make the difference. It's not the person who gets a fucking statue. It's the people who you never know their name because they're risking their ass to make fucking commerce work. Okay. I think I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you hit on, you're pretty much in a lot of the same thinking I'm in right now with the way things are going. Like, for example, you brought the dying animal thing, the state being a dying animal. I think that's a perfect analogy for what's going on here. Like, the analogy I've been using a lot is that think of the state as like a lion, and it's a hurt lion. It's a dying lion. Like, lions patrol, like, I don't know, it's like tens of miles. They patrol large areas. Mm-hmm. But what's going to happen when that lion is fucking hurt? It's going to retreat to where it feels comfortable. And so I think that's one thing we need to realize is that, like, that's what's happening right now is the state's power was receding into the places where it holds the most power. So, and this is actually something Konkin talked about a lot, and how he thought, the state was going to wither away, is they would recede to certain areas. And in a sense, this is almost kind of like the Agorist revolution in some ways. I think that we're going to see going forward, the state's going to recede into the cities and the blue states, essentially, somewhat along those lines, not perfectly. And I think some people who are incapable of thinking about it the right way are going to look at that and be like, oh my God, look at this tyranny. But it's like, yeah, but look at the rural areas. Look at this area. What's it like here? Like, it's not like that. So, like, you're just looking at these horrific areas. But the thing is, like, the state's a dying animal. It's becoming more violent, but over a smaller area, an area it feels more powerful within. So I do think it's a apt thing. I know everybody's caught on like white pills, black pills, all that shit right now. I think one I've been talking about is the clear pill. It's like, you need to be realistic. Like, because I do think, like, me and you are in Florida, so it's easy to be like, this is great. At the same time, like, there are areas, like I said, it's a dying fucking, lion, if you will. Like, if you're in fucking a city in Cali, like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I get it. Everyone has different means, and like, maybe you can't move, but you need to try to move to that way. Like, and like, everyone can do something, everyone can move somewhat, that way. Like, no one's in a perfect spot. I'm in no perfect spot. We were talking before, and everyone knows I'm in the military. So like, I'm not like, I do think that's actually part of my motivation of why I want to get out. It's not entirely philosophical. It's partially that I don't want to be dependent on the state. I think that is one thing that, like, if you're dependent on the state in any way, you need to fix that. Because that is a big thing of how they're going to keep you controlled. And so, I mean, it's kind of selfish, but I've been an ANCAP for a while and still been in the military. Call me a piece of shit if you will. But if anything, it's this past year, there's really like, I need to get the fuck out. Because it's like, this is not where I do not want to be dependent on the state.
They limit your ways to get out, so, it sounds like you're doing what you can do. And I ain't been saying this doesn't necessarily apply to you or anything, but like I said, for anybody's like in the military or police or anything, like, if you quit and say like, oh my God, that was terrible, I'm fucking sorry, like 100% redemption, dude. Like really, like, we've all been the victim of, brainwashing and stuff. And if you're like a police officer and you realize it's wrong and you don't just go, well, I'll just hang out and do a shitty job for the next 10 years to get my retirement, and you like quit, you know what I mean? Like, utmost respect, seriously, because like, if we don't allow for forgiveness, then what's the point of ever doing the right thing? But I mean, if you realize and come out of it like, hey, like, we can be friends, you know what I mean? Because that's a big thing. But yeah, when you get people who just like stick around for years for the retirement and they know it's shitty and they know they're doing terrible things, it's like, man, fuck you, dude. Seriously. Pat Watson with Uncensored Tactical, he does a lot of really good stuff with like bureaucracy and everything for like military and police, and he goes through just why the retirement system just makes like the worst incentives, for military and police to do a good job. It's crazy. It's really interesting, but yeah, those fields particular are really tough, because even if you're in it and you realize it, you have a hard time leaving sometimes.
Yeah, no, and I honestly kind of can't hold it against people because, like, for example, I'm at 11 years, and like I said, this isn't some philosophical thing of me wanting to get out right now. I mean, I've wanted to get out for a while, but I understood that, like, hey, I have a wife, I have kids, I have, whatever, like, but I'm at 11 years. If it wasn't for this past year and me seeing the writing on the walls, I would be like, fuck it, I'm just going to ride it out. Like, whatever, I'll just be like a Ron Swanson type, like, it is what it is, like, but it's this past year that was like, oh shit, I see the writing on the wall. I need to, get out or at least move that way, but like, I kind of, I mean, if it wasn't for the past year, I can completely understand where it's like, working for the government's generally, I mean, pretty fucking easy, like, so it's not that hard. I know a lot of people like talk about the military. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I mean, there's different MOSs and shit, so everything's different. It's not all this. Oh no, it's hard, but not everything's the same. So I mean, but like to some extent, it's pretty fucking easy. So it's like it wouldn't be that hard for me to dial it in for another 9 years and get my pension. But at the same time, it's like I don't really want to be dependent on the state, so I need to move the way as best I can, which is kind of hard. It's like ripping off a fucking Band-Aid, but it is what it is. So
yeah. Are you concerned about them asking like asking you to commit crimes against Americans, or I guess in a follow-up question, like interviewing you all of a sudden, do you actually being there, everybody says like, oh, if they enact this or that law, the military won't enforce it, the cops won't enforce it, and I'm like, bullshit, they will. Do you think there's much of a line for what they could ask, military people to do to Americans?
I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't know if I said in here, I'm a mechanic, so I mean, it's not really like something I'm really even that concerned about for that. So gotcha. Like, I mean, that would be a hard line for me. I feel like that would be a hard line for most, because the differentiation between like the police and the military is I do feel like military generally joins with some sort of like sense of duty or honor. I mean, not to say that doesn't happen with police at all, but it does happen less, I think, because like, I don't know, like the military just has a different connotation to it, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still shitty. Like, but I mean, I feel like most people join the military.
But yeah, I feel there's something different about it. There definitely is. It is almost like it's like a grander thing when you're on the military. You're defending the whole country or something like that. Whereas a cop, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, most people are disillusioned with the police at this point. But all right, I think we're at a good spot to go ahead and kill this. I don't know if you want to go ahead and drop your plugs.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Check us out over at Agorist Nexus. We got a lot going on over there. We do the podcast. Check out our articles. You can sign up on our website to get on our email list for a free newsletter, and keep up tabs with us there as well. And yeah, if you want to get a listing going or anything, feel free to holler at me. I am on Twitter at Dagorist. I hang out on Keybase and Discord and stuff like that too. I'm Dagorist. And I don't know. I guess that's about it.
Awesome. It's been really great having you on. I really enjoyed this discussion. I hope to do it again at some point. Definitely for me, like I said, I'm No Way Jose podcast. I'm on the YouTube channel. I'm anywhere audio podcasts are at. If you want to contact me for any reason, hit me up at thelibertymovementglobal@gmail.com. Also on Twitter at Jose Galison. Fucking give me money at patreon.com. So it's No Way Jose 2020 so I can keep doing this. Give me crypto at thefed.app. No Way Jose 2020 on there. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It's been really awesome. Like I said, it's been fucking dope having you on. Hope to do it again at some point. I'm not trying to hold you up, let you go. I know you're an early riser. So
I am.
All right.
So, thank you so much for having me, dude. This was a hoot.
No, I loved it. All right. That's it.
Peace.